All right, brand new swing state polling just out from Emerson. In the key 5 swing states, Trump leads Kamala in all but 1. He's up by 5 in Arizona, 2 in Georgia, 1 in Michigan, 2 in Pennsylvania, and is tied with her in Wisconsin. Joining me now, Doug Schoen, former advisor to President Clinton. He's also a Democratic pollster and strategist. Doug, what does these polls tell us now? Obviously, this is a honeymoon, I should say, moment for Kamala Harris, but there are some shifts here.
Yeah, I think that's how I would characterize it, Laura. There's a bump she's gotten clearly by the withdrawal of Joe Biden and the consolidation of the Democratic Party around her. She's doing somewhat better with younger voters, with independents, particularly Hispanics. She's doing less well with non-college educated whites. And I think there's an enthusiasm boost that probably has given her a couple of points over what Joe Biden had, though she still trails in 5 of the 7 national polls released since Joe Biden's withdrawal.
One thing I found very interesting in the crosstabs of this poll is the popularity of Trump. His overall popularity is up. Hers is up too, but his is up now. Overall, 48% of registered voters say they have a favorable view of him. And in previous polls, it's always found his favorability ratings between 39% and 45%. Her favorability is at 46%, which is up from 36%. So she's gotten a boost, but so has he. At this point, Where do you expect this to go, and what are the key inflection points moving forward as we get toward the Democrat National Convention?
Sure. The first and most obvious point is the Republicans had a very successful convention, particularly Donald Trump. I think the issues for Kamala Harris are, can she sustain attacks that will come on the southern border, on criminal justice, on her record as Attorney General, and being one of the, if not the most liberal Democratic senator. Those attacks haven't come yet, and whether she'll face the kind of scrutiny that John Kerry faced in 2004. The Democratic Convention is an obvious inflection point for her as well. And of course, the first debate, which may well, but not definitely, is slated to happen in September.
Well, she's leading Trump by 2 right now. Is that among independents? I think that's where we are.
Yeah.
That might be surprising for some Trump supporters to see tonight. What does that tell us?
It tells us that the Democrat-leaning independents have moved to her because the party consolidated around her. I think those numbers are very much in flux, given the fact that people really don't know that much about her. But face it, her launch was quite successful. Everyone consolidated around her, no attacks, but still she's trailing Trump, the swing states, and nationally, though it's closer than it was when Joe Biden was a candidate.
Well, when you look at the way ads are starting to move, I mean, there's a big new ad out tonight about how, look, despite the effort to reboot, rebrand, and recast her, she's a classic San Francisco liberal. And so it's the scenes of San Francisco, the fentanyl, the crime, the increased number of people leaving San Francisco, and basically saying, if you want that coming to your hometown, vote for Kamala Harris. I think that's going to be a devastating attack on her record, not on her personally, but on her beliefs and her record.
As do I, Laura, and I think the fact that she was sympathetic, at the very least, to the defund the police movement will also hurt her as well. But to me, the big issue is her role as the border czar. I think most Americans are outraged with the record number of illegal immigrants coming into our country, and how she and the Democrats will answer that, I don't really know. I think Trump is the favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Doug, she said, well, you torched the border bill. Well, the border bill would have let in 1.8 million people a year. That's easily dispensed with. You still think Trump's the favorite. He is on all the betting sites.
Yeah, to me, he's a narrow favorite. This could go either way. But if I had to bet, and I don't bet, but if I did, I'd bet on Trump. His numbers are up. And I think to date, he's run a more disciplined campaign than he's run in his prior two.
Keep it on the issues. Doug, great to see you. Thanks so much.
Exactly.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.